Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Narasimha. A significant push to the government's Make in India vision, ladies and gentlemen, as Airbus has awarded a contract for the manufacturing and assembly of the A220 family aircraft doors to Bengaluru-based Dynamatic Technologies. This is one of the largest aerospace export contracts for Bharat. This is the second door contract awarded by Airbus to an Indian supplier in less than just 1 year. In 2023, Airbus gave the contract for the manufacturing of bulk and cargo doors of the A320 family to Tata Advanced Systems Limited. The RBI's rate settling panel has forecast Bharat's economy to grow at 7% in the financial year 2025. The Monetary Policy Committee forecast says that each of the quarters in financial year will grow at 7.2% to 6.8% and 7% and 6.9% respectively. So Q1 7.2%, Q2 6.8%, Q3 7% and Q4 6.9% respectively. Microsoft Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Satya Nadella during an address has said that Bharat is expected to overtake the US as the largest developer community on the GitHub by 2027. Now, Bharat is the fastest growing market on GitHub with 13.2 million developers using it. Satya Nadella highlighted the pivotal role of Bharat's developer community in building cutting-edge products and solutions. Meanwhile, there's a heated debate that was on in Parliament over the white paper released by the government on the economy, with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman throwing out an open challenge that anybody who questions the numbers that have been presented in the paper, she's willing to take them to court or prove that not one letter is a figment of anybody's imagination or wild rhetoric. It's all there. The data proves what's been written in the white paper.
When you don't put the nation first, when you put your first family first, and when you have other consideration than transparency.
पैंतालीस साल में बेरोजगारी बढ़ी है, उस पर कोई व्हाइट पेपर नहीं, उसका व्हाइट पेपर में जिक्र ही नहीं है। तो ये व्हाइट पेपर एक इवेंट है, ये इवेंट मैनेजर है ना, अडवाणी जी ने कहा था।
Why they are going back to the old story? Now people wants about the black paper. What we had submitted, Karge Sahab has released.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a day after Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman laid the white paper on economy in Parliament, a massive political face-off has also erupted over the same. The heated debate was seen on both inside and outside Sansad. During the debate in Parliament, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman accused the UPA of putting family first during the 2008 global financial crisis and brought the economy down to the fragile 5. That's what she alleged. From an 8% growing country nation handed over from the Vajpayee regime at that time when they claimed India was shining, into the UPA, and to 2014 cut when it was part of the fragile 5. The finance minister listed the scams, missteps by the UPA regime and said it was under the Modi government that Bharat's economy is now in the top 5, with a commitment that if the NDA comes into power, Prime Minister himself saying it will be me and we will bring Bharat to the third largest economy. That's where we are, right on the cusp. The Congress called the government's paper a white lie and said it doesn't talk about demonetization, unemployment, inflation, among others. The Congress going on to call the white paper an election manifesto of the BJP. Now let's quickly take you through the key highlights of the white paper that's been released by the government. UPA abandoned 1991 reforms that were undertaken. In fact, it was said that the PV Narasimha Rao Manmohan Singh combine actually made a departure from the Congress's policies of the year or of the past, and they set forth on a new path which was totally abandoned by the UPA regime in 2004. UPA severely undermined macroeconomic foundations. Double-digit inflation between 2009 to 2014 over a 5-year period. NPA ratio in public banks rose from 7.8% in 2004 to 12.3% in 2013. External borrowings of 21.1% under UPA versus 4.55% under the NDA. Scams driven by non-transparent auction of public resources. Retrospective taxation and lending with undertones of favoritism. Largest power outage in July 2012, leaving 62 crore in total darkness. The telecom sector lost a decade due to 2G scam and policy paralysis. These are the claims made in the white paper. The Congress also released a black paper on the NDA's missteps. Now, here are the key highlights there. Rampant unemployment. Highest unemployment rate in 45 years. This is currently under the NDA. Policy blunders, demonetization and GST rollout killed small businesses. Rising fuel costs, high cost of fuel despite 21% fall in global crude prices. Farmer distress, doubling the farmer income promise has been left unfulfilled. A paltry MSP increase is inadequate for farmer welfare. And poor wage growth, less than 1% growth in wages for rural workers. Salaried workers now earn less than when under the UPA. These are the claims made in the black paper released by the opposition. Also, crony capitalism, strategic sectors of the economy handed over to a few businessmen. Now let's take you through some of the big numbers. Year-on-year GDP growth, these are the numbers. Macroeconomic numbers, 2012-2013 it was 5.5%, 2021-2022 it is 9.1%. Headline year-to-year inflation, 2012-2013 9.9%, 2021-2022 5.5%. Current account balance of GDP, 2012-2013 it was 4.8%, 2021-2022 it's minus 1.2%. Let's go straight across to GVL Narasimha Rao, Rajya Sabha MP of the BJP, also its key spokesperson, analyst, and of course Sanjay Jha, political commentator and analyst. No teleprompter today, Sanjay Jha, but where do you stand on the white paper versus the black paper? Let's start with you. Gentlemen, it's just the two of you. Let's have a sane, engaging, encouraging and enlightening debate. That's my humble request. Yes, Sanjay Jha.
I want to say at the very beginning, a very fair introduction, Anand. And GVL is a friend of mine. We are on opposite platforms. We will go for each other, but I promise that it will be a civilized conversation.
Thank you very much.
So let me start. I'll tell you why the white paper is a monumental disaster and what I would call it as a big lie. Number one, the GDP growth rate between 2004 to 14 was 7.8%. 7.8%, ladies and gentlemen, watching the program. Under the NDA of Mr. Modi, it is 5.9%. A 2% gap in GDP over 10 years average, it tells you how much of growth difference the UPA created vis-a-vis the NDA. Clearly, the Congress has beaten the BJP hands down. Point number two, Mr. Modi and the finance minister keep saying again and again, we inherited a broken economy, a dysfunctional system, and there were things going wrong. Really? In 2014, the NDA inherited a GDP of 6.4% from the Dr. Manmohan Singh's government. Guess, Anand, what is the average GDP of the NDA? 5.9. So the worst of the UPA was better than the average of the NDA over 10 years. I mean, therein lies the entire story. Now here is point number three. Very important. The UPA over 10 years lifted 271 million people out of poverty, and this is a UNDP data, not some Niti Aayog data. So this is the promise of an inclusive growth model, a GDP growth and poverty, people getting actually lifted out from poverty to a better life. I believe it is the golden period of Indian economy. Now, what GVL and the finance minister have been saying is about the fragile five. Let me tell you why that is such a weak and a fragile argument. The fragile five was nothing to do with the Indian economy. It was to do with the Americans, or rather the US Fed, saying that we'll put an end to what they used to call as quantitative easing. And that led to a panic, not just in India, but several markets, including Indonesia, Brazil, South Africa, etc. India, by the way, and this is something that the viewers should know, bounced back from a rupee at 67 to a dollar to 60 to a dollar by March 2014. When GVL's government took over, the rupee dollar was at 60 rupees. Look at where it is today, 83. And Nirmala Sitharaman and the Prime Minister still talk of the fragile five? You've got to be joking, ladies and gentlemen. Point number 3. Can this be denied? And I'll stop here.
Ji.
Per capita income, look at where India ranks, 142. Human Development Index, 132. I mean, Inequality Index, 129. And they will tell you India will become a 5 trillion economy in a few years. What GVL won't tell you is India was supposed to be a 5 trillion economy by 2024, according to Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, who's apparently one of their economic geniuses. Again, pushing the goalpost forward. Why? Because the government has failed to deliver. Last but not the least, doubling of farmer income. When you lie to the farmers, who I think are the backbone of our country, who provide us the food grains we eat, 2017 will double the farm income in 5 years. 2022 तो इतिहास हो गया और अब भविष्य के लिए फिर कुछ लंबी चौड़ी झूठ कब तक चलेगा ये?
Okay. So you made your opening remarks, and GVL Narasimha Rao, please respond. However, I would like to say that this tenure of 19 to 23 or 24, Sanjay Jaji, has also seen 2 big black swan events. One of it has never been seen in more than a century, and in fact it carried over not for 1 year but more than 2 years, and soon after there was this war or conflict, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, that's also gone over more than 2 years. So there are 2 black swan events, but yes, there was also the lending crisis, the prime lending crisis that happened during the tenure of the UPA. So UP also saw a global churn at that point in time. GVL Narasimha Rao. Ji.
Good evening, Anand, to you, Mr. Sanjay Jha, and all the viewers of your channel. Would Sanjay Jha also deny what Honorable Prime Minister said in his speech giving thanks to the President, in the motion of thanks to the Honorable President a few days ago? Is it not a fact that in 10 years of UPA era, during the Prime Ministership of Dr. Manmohan Singh, India remained more or less stagnant in the world economy? Our rank remained almost at the same level. 10 years you have moved from 11th to 10th rank. And in 10 years of Prime Minister Modi's tenure, from 10th rank you have moved to becoming the 5th largest economy in the world. Has that happened without India experiencing high economic growth vis-a-vis the rest of the world? Or is this a fact that our government has created? These are international world statistics. You cannot deny them. We are the 5th largest economy. You may have delivered growth for some years in the UPA era, but you have delivered greater inflation. So any growth with high inflation nullifies actual growth. So that's point number 1 is we have moved from 10th to being 5th largest economy, and in 5 years we will become the 3rd largest economy under Modi 3.0. Second, we have delivered on our inflation promise. The average inflation during the 10 years of Prime Minister Modi's tenure is within the RBI mandated range, whereas you have mostly delivered double-digit inflation during various Congress regimes, including that of Indira Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, and many others, including Manmohan Singh. Then on not just on growth, as you rightly mentioned, some of these, the second tenure, Modi 2.0, has witnessed the worst of economic crisis in the world, and we have come back. The whole world acknowledges. The same international organizations that Sanjay Jha speaks of, they consider India to be the brightest economy today. We are the fastest growing world economy. We are contributing to the growth of the world. The world economic growth is largely contributed by us. We are growing at more than twice the rate of growth of the rest of the world. And inflation all over the world is at its peak levels in 45 years. In 50 years, we have managed to contain inflation. And the lies about industry having, agriculture having suffered, we have delivered in 10 years the highest growth in the agricultural sector. This is what Niti Aayog has put out. An average in the last 10 years, we have experienced close to 4% growth in the entire agri and allied sectors put together. This is possibly the best in several decades. So the government has delivered on on the economic performance, both in the agricultural sector, in the manufacturing sector, even the post-COVID. I think by a very important Atmanirbhar economic vision, Prime Minister was able to unleash growth in the economy, unlike the rest of the world, which has collapsed post-COVID. With the kind of prescriptions that Rahul Gandhi and Congress leaders were giving to the government, Prime Minister proved to be a far more astute in economic management than your erstwhile RBI governors or Rahul Gandhi.
Right, a lot of benchmarks and lot of numbers that have also been put out in the white paper.